Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. Well, as you can plainly see, the disassembly has begun. This is kind of taking a long time. I'm trying to be methodical about it. There's a number of things, as I talked about last time, that I want to do as I take it apart. And I'm trying to remember to do all of them as I go. And also trying to think ahead to what I might need to do that's not on the list. One of the things that is on the list that I'm not going to do is run an auxiliary reversible set of wires up to the front for like an actuator or something. I'm going to use this winch. I did actually install a new winch. This is the one that I kind of screwed up before when I was trying to come up with a way to do the 3-point. But yeah, so this is my new winch. What I'd like to end up doing is making some sort of a bumper slash brush guard kind of thing. And that way, if I have something out here on the front that's sort of heavier, instead of doing it the way that I do it with the plow, where it just sort of pulls up at this weird, like sort of a steep diagonal, I can have this come straight up to like a pulley that's on the bumper, and then come down, and that way the winch is actually picking up straight on the implement. And there, I've got a roller fair lead instead of, I think they call this a fawz, but I've got a roller fair lead that I could put here too. So if I do end up doing that, there won't be all this friction rubbing against that piece of aluminum, so it'll be on rollers. So that's what I'll end up doing there if I need to. And also, I had talked about maybe changing this sort of front piece. If you don't remember how this looks, kind of look back on the last video. This was about 2 inches wider, and this edge stuck out, and there was like a big gap here. Now I could have welded that and made it look okay, and if it didn't come out, I could have ground it, and it would have been fine. But I wanted to make it look sort of nicer, and it ended up being a much bigger pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be. So one of the problems was this piece wasn't exactly straight, so I had to, and then this piece, when I cut it off about right here, and this piece was straight, this piece wasn't straight, so I had to make them both either equally straight or equally unstraight. That way whenever I welded it together, I could ground it down flat and end up with a flat surface. And also, this piece wasn't exactly bent right, so I had to bend it. Anyway, there was a whole lot of fussing about it. Now I think it looks good, and I'm happy that I did it, but yeah, that was a kind of pain in the butt. Let's see, what else? As I've been taking stuff apart, I've sort of been painting things too, and I got that back in there because this is all because I'm trying to figure out how to do the rear auxiliary battery cables. I'll talk about them. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about them right now. All right, so here's what I've come up with for my crossover for my power takeoff accessory power outlets. A buddy of mine has a 3D printer, and he printed up these cable clamps for me. And all I did was there's some bolts that stick through the frame. They hold on to these little brackets here, and the bolts stick through. So I just took some pieces of angle iron, cut some slots in it, and then mounted a little 3/4 inch spacer on that, both sides. Ran a piece of 1/8 inch sheet metal between those two, and then mounted that to the middle. I spaced that sheet metal back roughly 5 inches from this center pivot. So it's about 5 inches back from that. Likewise in front, about 5 inches forward of that center pivot, I mounted this other clamp. And this is just bolted to, I welded a piece of 1/8 inch sheet metal on the bottom of my battery tray. Drilled and tapped a hole and have that clamp mounted there. And it's roughly 5 inches. So what that does is, whenever this thing turns, then there's no change in cable length. Now, what would have been ideal is to have the cables stacked on top of each other. But as you see, they're horizontal. I didn't have a way of doing that so that they're stacked on top of each other. So I just put a half twist in there. So say the positive side crosses over and then goes over to the other. And what that does is any change in length as it turns is just accepted by that. Now, I could run into a little bit of a problem during articulation, like if that's the front. So if the right front tire comes up during the left turn, or I guess it doesn't matter which turn because the cables are equalized. But if the left tire comes up, left front tire comes up, or the right, sorry, I don't know my rights from my left. Right front tire comes up or left rear tire comes up. It'll cause this to twist a little bit, but there should be enough. There should be enough extra cable in there that's not gonna matter. So that's gonna work out pretty good, I think. And so I've got this one kind of twisted sideways because I need it to come out to this right side frame member. This is my drive belt. That's going to be roughly here. So I needed to come over to the frame and clear that belt. And I'm going to have, as soon as he fixes his computer, he's going to print me up a couple more of those clamps, and I'll just drill and tap into that frame and mount another one right there. And then on the way back, I decided to go ahead and mount this to the bottom, and that just makes it easier. That just makes it sort of better for whenever I close this. If it was mounted on the top, then there'd be more extra cable that would have to do something with, and it'd be sitting there and it's exposed and it's kind of not pretty. So I'm going to have another one of those clamps made to go down here. For the front, what I'm going to do, I think is going to be kind of interesting. I've ordered a couple. Whoops, sorry about that. So I've ordered a couple more of these, and these are just distribution blocks, I guess you'd call it. And I'm gonna mount one of them over here, I think, and one of them over here. I got a negative and positive. I'll mount one over here and one over here, and that'll clear the motor because the motor sits here. That'll clear the motor, and then from my auxiliary contactor, I'll run a cable down to that one, and then on the other side of here, where I pick up the negative battery terminal, I'll run it down and over there. It'll come out this way and cross over. This one will actually come out. They'll both come out this way, and they'll come underneath the motor. One will go over on this side, one will go on that side. One of these will go over here. This other one will go over here, and that's how I get power to the back. And what I'll also be able to do, I'll be able to run two more of these cables. And I'll just tap off of this and it'll come forward, and tap off of this and come forward. I'll bring this one over here, and then they'll come along this frame rail. Now, I kind of run into a little bit of trouble because I got my cooling loops coming up there, so I can't run these along the frame and keep it inside, and then I also would run into the grill. So I've got these bulkhead fittings. What I'll do is I'll drill a hole in the frame, big hole, so that this will slide through, and then this part will poke out, and then I got another one that I'll put roughly here. So these will be 48 volts sticking out through the frame, and then I will run from here and here. I'll run it forward, where I'll have another one of these, and I'll probably mount it about right there. And that way I can power a front accessory, because at some point I want to have one of those DR mower, brush mower things. Yeah, I want to have that mounted on the front, and that'll be pretty cool. So that's how I'm going to do that. Yeah, so that's how I'm doing that. And what else? What else have I done? Obviously got all the wiring out. Let's look at my big pile of stuff that I've got over here. Yeah, so there's my big pile of stuff. The rear half of the wiring harness came out in one piece, like I was hoping it would. And everything else, just sort of sitting there. Let's see, what else? I feel like I have more to talk about. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these wheels, I'm going to get these wheels and tires off, and get the tires off of the wheels, and I'm going to take those to a sandblaster along with this plow. I'm going to have the sandblaster take care of that, and then I'll paint these white. I did buy a little Harbor Freight sandblaster. It was like 80 bucks, and I think you kind of get what you pay for. And it did work kind of, but I mean it's really not beefy enough for doing that kind of hard work. So I'm going to take the stuff like that and take it to have somebody else do it. All right, then. I think that takes care of it for now. And I'll work on this the rest of the week, and I should get it all taken care of. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.